Good morning. As all well-laid plans, there's a gentleman, I'm sure if you've been in any big organization or in the military, named Murphy. He tends to get in the way of things. I thought we might be exempt from that because we're on the reservation. Evidently, he lives here too. We're going to start. We're honored today to have with us the Marine Corps Color Guard, and we appreciate it if you would stand as they present the colors. Thank you. Please remain standing. We on the reservations, I'm sure it's throughout the Southwest, we always start a gathering with a prayer. This morning we have Mr. Wallace Evans from Oklahoma. We asked him to give a prayer to start this meeting.
Great God, Almighty God, the great Creator, the great Architect of the universe, we pray that Thou will bless this assembly and Thou will bless the nation, the Cocopah Nation. And we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. We made some changes on our agenda here. We have events that has occurred, the flu, sickness, and we're having some difficulties throughout the nation. I was listening to the radio today, and we have a lot of fatalities on the flu. It's hitting everybody. So we have revised. Some of our speakers were not able to make it. I went to visit one of our speakers day before yesterday. He's a Brownwater Navy man. He's a double amputee. He was in dire straits. I appreciate those of you that are here today. I know we're having some problems throughout the nation. here on the Cocopah Reservation, if you read the flyers that was put out, you get a brief glimpse of who we are and what we are. It gives me great honor to have you people here to recognize veterans that have served through all the wars. Most tribal nations have put forth their effort. I have some things in the front, as you've noticed. Just a quick symbol of what this is all about. The shoes that walked, their homelands, the gourd that represents what we are, the weapon that was used, that has been used throughout the wars, a very simple tool, and the covers that represent that era. I know you people are aware of this. I know you people have suffered, whether you went abroad or you stayed home watching the door to someone that you love come home. We will be honored again by Mr. Evans with a song that I hope you learned, which is not taught anymore in schools, and to give us the flavor of what this gathering should be. Mr. Evans.
Yes, he already said I would be singing a song. It's true. This song also tells a wonderful story. When Benjamin Franklin was asked, "Did you give us a country?" his reply was, "Yes, and now it's up to you to keep it." And you men and women veterans have done that. And we all say thank you. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring. My native country thee, land of the noble free, thy name I love. I love thy rocks and hills, thy woods and templed hills. My heart with rapture thrills like that above. Let music swell the breeze and ring from all the trees. Sweet freedom song, let mortal tongues awake, let all that breath partake, let rocks their silence break, the sound prolong. Our fathers, God to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our God.
If you're wondering why we don't have people here, I think it's a little more informal, maybe more in line with gathering. A gathering here on the reservations, it's just a group of people getting together. We talk to each other, we listen to each other. I think the time has brought us today where we don't do that anymore. We talk about liberty and freedom. People don't really know what that word means. That statue that stands greeting immigrants from Europe for all these years, it holds a torch, and that torch represents a flame, the flame of freedom. What people don't understand, and nobody, I think, needs to explain, nobody understands, is that flame needs fuel. And that fuel is people like yourselves, those who went out and served, those who waited home for their loved ones. That's the fuel that runs the country. It is not money. It is not great people. It's just people like yourselves. There's many people who died in the Vietnam War, but not all of them died over there. There's many people who came home from the war in Vietnam, but not all of them came home. We on the Cocopah Reservation have suffered thusly. And I'm sure that there's other peoples on reservations that have the same understanding that I do. We went to fight a war. I lived in a mud hut. My bathtub was the canal next to the house. Yet we did our duty, as many of you probably have. And you know people who have served in real humble circumstances. In basic training, I was with people who came from the city of Juarez in Mexico. They barely spoke English. I found out later that when I got overseas that one of them didn't make not even a week. People who wanted to be here understood the value of freedom, the value of opportunity. That's what the veteran offers to those that are in America today. Today we've asked the director of the Vet Center speak. But before we do that, I would like to have the chairwoman of the Cocopah people give us an official welcome, a voice of authority that we have on the reservation. Ms. Sherry Cordova.
Thank you all. Good morning. Like many people, I've been battling the cold, as you can probably hear. And I didn't know if I'd make it here this morning, but there are some events that, no matter what, I want to be there. There are some things that I say, well, I can't make it. I can't do it. But when I was asked a while back to do this, I agreed because it is something that is very dear to me. And I half jokingly, but half honestly say, Mr. Soto came to my house to check on me yesterday. I don't think he would have done that if this event wasn't happening today. I think he was worried that I wouldn't be here. But most of you that do know me, if I make a commitment, I will be there to get that done. As usual, I didn't read the flyer that was given to us, so in my remarks, I just wanted to talk a little bit about who we are. And we just completed our 100-year recognition in September. We were established by Woodrow Wilson, 1917. So we just celebrated our 100 years of recognition. We are, as it says in the paper there, as I said, I didn't see that until after I made my notes, but we're just over 6,500 acres. 4,200 of it was by order in 1985 under, I believe it was Reagan. So since then we have grown. We have agriculture land, we have enterprises, we have 7 of them. I myself began working with the tribe back in the 1970s. And when I worked with the tribe, we only had about 600-700 members. But we have grown today. We are over 1,100 members. But what I feel is really important, and I wanted to share with you this morning, was that while we were small back in the 70s, my family, Mr. Soto, his brothers, my brother, they all served in Vietnam. And I can still remember 1967. My grandparents spoke no English. And they couldn't understand why when the gentleman came and said, "Your son is gone." It was my first day as a freshman at Cocopah High School. And I can remember where I was when they pulled me out of class. My brother was there. So it was hard for me to understand as a teenager. But today, I do understand that we are here today because of everything that everyone has done in every war. But I believe the Vietnam War was the most misunderstood war. But even though we were only 600-700 strong, we were there. If they said you are there to support, we were there. And we are there today the same way. So we grow, we flourish, we continue with our future. But we also understand that there would be no future without those that gave for us. Every year, as small as we are, we make sure we have a memorial service for all of those that have served for us. And we recognize those that have given their lives for us. But today we recognize all of those, as he said, have come back. But they didn't all come back wholly. And I know that because I lost my brother in 2011, decades after what happened. But he served just as everyone else did. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the military people. I'm very proud of the families that sacrificed so that they can go. So I stand here today because of all of those that served us. And I'm thankful for all of you being here. And I welcome you here. I welcome you here so that you'll enjoy our hospitality. We have our own tribal government here, as it says in our flyer. And we have a council member here, Ms. Rosa Long. Please recognize Council Member Long. We also have Vice Chairman J.D.L.B. Gay, and then we have a Council Member Marvin Sharkey Jr. and Council Member Edmund Dominguez. But it is Saturday, so I don't know, maybe they're just sleeping in. I'm not sure what's going on. But I do welcome you. Again, I'm very proud to be here. I'm very honored to have been asked to welcome you here this morning. And I hope you all enjoy the day and that it's beneficial to you and that you take with you something on your journeys. As you travel, remember Cocopah in a positive manner. Thank you for being here. Welcome, and please enjoy your stay with us. Thank you very much.
Might I add to that we're especially thankful because most tribes are somewhat isolated. And when I was growing up, I saw the veterans that they'd leave and they'd come back. And later I understood when they left here and were able to see water in the house, as simple as it may be, water in the house, 3 squares a day. You didn't have to get out of the house when it rained because your house leaked. They're the people that came back and said, why not? Why can't we have these things? And that's basically what started most tribes out in the Southwest. Some are still carrying water today. Some still live without electricity, but yet they do serve. I'm sure there's somebody in Los Angeles, for example, I lived there for a while, and the ghettos and the barrios, that live in similar circumstances, and they served. Again, that's what makes country great. And I really appreciate more every day the veterans, because I see what is lacking in this country. I always think when I'm in my car, I listen, I get up and I say, I wonder what my main man Trump has done today. The guy doesn't never stop. And I teach, I'm a teacher by trade, and there's times where I teach government, and what I taught the day before is totally eradicated by what happens in the White House. And that gives me some consternation, because the next day, the young people are sharp today. With all the media and the internet, they grasp things faster than at least perhaps that I did. So they have real difficult questions for me that I can't answer. And I think I like to be what I always tell people, and they say, who are you? Oh, I'm just another Indian on a reservation. That way I don't have to explain anything. Mr. Lasky? The Veterans Organization has really given us a great hand. Those of us that kind of after we left service, we want to live our own lives, and we have problems that I didn't really realize. And it's organizations such as his that come to help. I still have therapy every Wednesday. And what I have therapy for is what occurred more than 60 years ago. And it isn't that I go stark raving crazy every now and then. It's just the things that give me turmoil in my daily life, my sense of being. And I think your presence today puts a little closure in that. And I hope you'll explain to us a little bit about how this thing started, and it's helped a lot. When I go to his office, there's always people in there. There's a lot more out there that need to be in there. There's a lot on reservations that this kind of information never reaches up in the northern area of this state. So he has a great task ahead of him, and I know he's got good people to help him, or we wouldn't be here today. Mr. Lasky.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna, hello? All right. I don't do a lot of microphone speaking, so if I make it scream or yell or back up too much, just, poke me with a stick or something. I'll get right back on track. I'm going to talk to you a little today about the Vet Center, what we do, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of how we came to be here today at this. And then we're going to kind of go from there and talk about what it means to be a veteran, and then what it also means to be a civilian in today's world, and how we can kind of close that gap, but that is currently growing, it seems, more and more, and what we can do to stop that. So first, let's kind of discuss what the Vet Center is and how we came about. We were started in 1979 as the Department of Veterans Affairs. As many of the people in here will tell you, the Vietnam veterans came home to not only a society that didn't accept them, but a government that was not willing to help them with a lot of the issues that they brought back. They did try to go to the VA, and in return found a lot of the issues they brought forward to the VA's attention were not listened to, and they were ignored and not taken care of. So the federal government got something right, and they said, you know what, we'll let you try to take care of this yourself. And we began as a strictly peer-to-peer counseling room. So if you were part of the Vet Center, first one was in Tacoma, Washington, and back in 1979, it was stick a bunch of Vietnam veterans in a room, give them a pool table, dartboard, something to, kind of sit around and let them kind of work through from there and see what they got going on. And that's where we got that original version of like what they called the Vietnam rap groups, in which veterans just kind of found that ability to share and talk about issues. Maybe either A, they weren't having the ability to talk about to the people in their life, and at the same time, they didn't want to burden their loved ones with, because the stones in my backpack are mine to carry, and I'm not going to force that upon somebody I love or care about. But if I can reach out to somebody else who's been there with shared experiences, then I can have that. We were originally slated to be a 5-year program, and here we are still going strong today. Not through our failures, but through our successes. From that original Vet Center in Tacoma, Washington, we grew. We are now represented in all 50 U.S. states and 3 U.S. territories. We have expanded our services not just from Vietnam veterans, but to veterans of all wars. So from World War II up to your current OIF, OEF generations, and any conflict in between. No big or too small. We also now work with family members, because we understand that the veteran's journey home is not one that they should take upon themselves. So we want to see significant others, family members who interact with them on a daily basis. Anybody that veteran may refer and say, this is somebody who's important to me and I want to help them understand, we're going to work with that person to create an environment for that veteran to transition to. And from there, that's where we work. We don't diagnose at the Vet Center, unlike the VA, who follows a medical model. We simply work on readjustment counseling issues. And what that is for the veteran to define themselves. I'm fond of saying every time I meet somebody new in my office, I'm here to work myself out of a job, and I'm here to, hopefully I get to that point where you say, you don't need to come here anymore, and they say, great. But at the same time, because of the successes we've had, the connections we have what we call legacy groups, in which we've had veterans coming to vet centers for 20 years, once a week, just because it's part of their routine and it's part of their transition. Not because something's wrong with them, but because coming there is something right for them. Having that a chance to share once a week, having that chance to reach out and connect with their brothers and sisters from Vietnam or World War II or even OFOEF gives them that opportunity to feel normal again and to adjust and kind of share their experiences and going forward. And that's really what we're about. We want to give the veteran the chance to transition and get to where they want to be in life. Anybody who comes into any vet center will learn very quickly that what their goals are what the goals we're going to work on. We don't tell them what they need to do. We don't tell them where they need to be and how best to fit in society. We are here to get them to where they want to be in life. And I have a great staff for that. Delphine Hamilton, who I know most of you know, is our outreach person. She's constantly out there looking for veterans and trying to bring them into our service, because unfortunately, we are one of the best kept secrets in the VA. I get people at least once a week who come in and say, I didn't know what this place was, and I didn't even know you were here or what you did. And one of my biggest goals, and everybody on my staff's biggest goals, is to get us to the point where everybody knows who we are and what we do. And what it is, in the basic, simple terms, myself and my staff, we have the honor and privilege of being the people who welcome veterans home and work with them to get them to where they want to be in life in the simplest forms. If that's individual and group therapy, then it's individual and group therapy. If it's benefits explanation, then it's benefits explanation. And anything and everything we can do to help that veteran be successful in their new life. From resume writing and job placement, like I said, to individual therapy and anything between marriage and family counseling and so on and so forth. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of what we do at the Vet Center. If you have any questions, please take the opportunity to see myself, Dell, or come out to the mobile vet center or underneath our tent and ask us anything. And as part of the government, everything we do is free. As Vic to say, your service to your country paid for us to be here. And getting into that service of the country, one of the things, being an OEF veteran myself, I cannot express enough the thanks I have for the Vietnam veterans and what you had to go through on your return home and the composure you maintained for it that allowed us to receive the benefits I have today. I mean, I'll straight up say it. We are a spoiled group of veterans, this current generation. I have more ways to pay for school, houses, job opportunities, grants, non-for-profits, that you can name out there to help me transition, for me to take advantage of. And it's there for two reasons. It's there because there's a guilt associated with the way Vietnam veterans were treated, and very rightfully so. It was very unfair. But also, if you hadn't taken that blow for us and done it in the way that you did, they wouldn't be offering a hand to us today. You had a lot of options back in those days. And majority of the veterans I know silently continued on. They went back to their families, they went back to their jobs. They decided that, well, if society doesn't want to listen to our problems, then we're not going to share them. And that was incredibly unfair, but it was incredibly strong of you. And I cannot thank you enough for being the bigger person for the last 20 to 30 years and allowing society to mature and grow and move along and welcome you back. And big part of what today is people, organizations like us coming together with the Cocopah and the Kachan to put a celebration like this in order, something that should have happened 50 years ago, but we're getting to it today. And I cannot thank you enough for the way you've carried yourself with the dignity that you've brought to the veteran culture. And it's because of that people are so willing to give towards veterans today. So thank you very, very, very much for that. It does mean a lot to me, and to every veteran of my generation to be associated with you. And I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I apologize deeply, but I cannot thank you enough for the dignified and respectful way in which you've transitioned back into society on your own without a quarter of the help that my current generation has. I can only hope to emulate you as I move down in my career and for the rest of my life. Every one of you are heroes to me, not just for what you did for your country overseas, but for how you transitioned back home and came back and carried on with your lives here in America since then. Thank you very much. Lastly, and before we get to the food and all of the real fun stuff, because I'm not that fun to listen to, I just want to talk about how to speak to a veteran. There's a lot of talk out there, and one of the problems we've had in the last 4 years is because we've had 50 years of silence on the issue. People don't know what to say other than thank you. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of the times, thank you is enough. There's nothing wrong with going up to a veteran and saying thank you for your service. And I know it makes me feel awkward anytime somebody says it to me, and I just kind of usually say thank you back, which is really weird to say. But I don't know what to say because it's an awkward thing, but it's still always appreciated. And I still walk away from that conversation and go, oh, that was really nice of them. I can't say that. And I know we hear a lot of horror stories of like people getting in conversation and going down paths and being asked, did you kill anybody? How many people did you kill? Did anybody die? And so on and so on. And, I get it, those people are out there, but we can't let people like that define us as a society or as our interactions. Obviously people like that missed a couple lessons in kindergarten and need to go back to their social interactions phase again if they're asking questions like that. But as for the rest of us, just talk. A lot of people want to share their stories, and it's good to share. Isolation is, the veteran's biggest enemy. And it's hard to reach out for help if you've never had a casual conversation with somebody about what goes on in your day-to-day life. And that casual conversation can pay off big time. No veteran, myself included, is expecting any civilian to come forward and go straight into the deep end of the pool with them the first time we talk. But just knowing that you care, just knowing that you go, hey, what was the food like over there? What was it like? What was your experience? Give me a chance to, lets me know, and lets a lot of veterans know, that I have an ally in that person. I have somebody who cares. And I have an ability to tell my story to that person when I'm ready to. And that's really what we're looking for. And that's a lot of what we try to do at the Vet Center, and what we encourage is that strong social support network with veterans. So I know as a society we're out of practice because, you know, it's been 50 years since we've been talking to veterans. But one of the parts of all these benefits coming towards veterans these days is I feel it's my generation's responsibility to start that dialogue again. And on the other side of that, for those who've never served but have always been supportive, I can't say enough thanks for you, and always feel free to reach out and say hello to a veteran and just ask them about their service if you're curious about it. Because if you're coming from a good place, they're gonna know that. They're gonna recognize that, and they're gonna wanna engage with you. And hopefully that friendship you make or that brief little bonding you have can prevent a tragedy further down the road for that veteran, because now you've become a link in that chain of support for them. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll turn it back over.
Well, it's good to hear how somebody can talk to me. It sounds a little strange, but I do relish when somebody says, thank you for your service, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. But I'd like to touch on a little bit on what he just said. I'd forgotten about it. I landed, I think, in Travis Air Force Base about 11 o'clock at night. That's just outside of San Francisco, and we had to bus into San Francisco Replacement Center. I remember it's during the hip era, if some of you guys want to age yourself. Tied shirts, a lot of marijuana started. We came in an Air Force bus and it had screen on it, and I thought, why would we have screen here in the United States? And we were about 50 of us in the bus, and it became obvious when we started coming downtown San Francisco, things started hitting the bus. Dunk, dunk. It kind of scared most of us. What's happening? Because we've been outside what we call the world for a long time. And then we realized they were throwing cans and bottles at us. And of course, it got people upset, but we were just glad to be home. And then it went a little bit deeper as we came into the city. This is America. And I thought what we were doing was good. But what really touched our hearts when we got downtown was this old black lady in the street with her basket. One of the people who live on the streets. And she had this dirty old American flag that she probably picked up somewhere and was waving it as we came by. And a lot of us were weeping. It seemed strange. A city that popular, that modern, the only person that welcomed us home was a lady that lived in the streets waving a dirty flag. Little did I know at the time that was how America was at that time. I landed here in Yuma, and some nice man in a suit looked at me because I was limping, and he said, "You just come home?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Here, let me carry your bag," a big duffel bag that we carry. And it changed the complex. It changed. I knew I was home. It just reminded me of that. It didn't dawn on me at the time, the attitude America had. We're here on the reservation. Phoenix and San Diego is probably the biggest cities we go to for visiting and getting out of Yuma. But we're not isolated, but we don't have that attitude here. And I guess because we're rural people, I mean, we help each other. When I was a kid, I'd go to a white man's house, and the guy ate beans too, just like me. So we were all in a tough situation, and it really united the community. When we had my brother's funeral, we came through Somerton. I don't know if you're from here, but familiar with the old town out here. And when we went through the main street, which is maybe 3 blocks long, everybody was out. I've never seen that before. They were all standing out in the streets. And from time to time, those things flash back to me. And I understand more as the older I get. I'll be 74 next month. I'm lucky to be here. But I know there's other people like myself, sequestered in their house, have never left. The battle still rages in their head. Sometimes I see in the office at the Veterans Center, you can look at a person and know he has issues. Our veterans here during World War II were all gone now, but I used to see them drunk all the time. And I thought, I'm going to come back and be the same. Little did I know I had a choice. As we as a tribe became to be more modern, I believe it was 1950 sometime, where a magazine indicated that our tribe is one of the poorest people in the nation. And we have gone a long ways. And I credit that to the veterans who went out and said, why can't I have running water in my house? And I'm sure there are people here who could attest to that. And with that thought in mind, if you so feel like saying a few words to the people here, you'll be welcome. Maybe share an experience, maybe share your feelings, and it really makes a difference if you talk to people. I've learned it. I didn't think so, but I learned that if you talk to people with your experiences and try to connect, and that's what a gathering is all about. If there's any of you who would like to share your experience, now is the time. We don't have no brave souls out here. This is a reservation warrior country. Be bold. Okay, let me let you know, or let me tell you about one day in my life in the jungles. About 4 o'clock in the morning, you got up. You sleep 2 hours. You're on guard 2 hours. You sleep 2 hours. You're on guard 2 hours. And at 4 o'clock you get up. Because 4 o'clock until just before dawn is the prime time you get assaulted, the attacks come. Sometimes it's just a couple of mortars. And sometimes they charge your fence, your barbed wire. You get up, if you're in a bunker, you're lucky. If you're just in a foxhole, you lay out your magazines, you take out your grenades, straighten out the pins, lay them. You wake up your buddy, make sure he's awake, and you call what they call a stand to. And you wait. Very uneasy feeling. At least once a week you get probed. Shots fired. Maybe once every 2 weeks your position is assaulted. And they come, I think they never stop. Mortars come, tears up the barbed wire, hits your bunkers. You hear people screaming. You see the medic running around. You see the sergeants trying to keep everything in order. It stops. Then the main assault starts. I would not wish that experience on anybody. It can happen in rain. It can happen in a nice, breezy morning. Contact is usually about 10 to 20 minutes. If it goes any more than that, you're in trouble. Because you normally don't carry enough equipment, ammo to last you any more than half an hour. If it's rainy, you can't get air support. If you're too far forward, you can't get artillery support. You're basically on your own. As they say in the movies, those are the times that try men's souls. I have in my hold with me some kid that just graduated from high school. He's still talking about building his hot rod. He's still talking about his girlfriend. But after a couple of those, he grows into a man instantly. It's very hard to describe the emotions that run through at the end of the battle. You count heads, and you're always missing people. Not necessarily killed, but those are wounded gravely. Those you know they're not going to make it to the medevac. And those, I have never seen men cry because they're going to die. And that's speaking greatly of American young men. They just say, I'm not going to make it, am I? I said, probably not. You're wounded bad. I don't lie to them. Sometimes I just hold their hands. Nobody wants to die by themselves. And they slip away. Sometimes I remember those people and sometimes I don't. I think it's because I don't want to. But those are the people that came back and tried to make this transition without help. I'm lucky. When I came home, I had my tribe. I'm lucky because I had my family. So you, if you have a chance, even if the guy is old in a wheelchair, pat him on the back. Because the experience that he has is haunting. Can't get rid of it. Scared to sleep, which drives people to drugs and drinking. Again, I credit my people here for keeping me sane with the activities, with a familyhood that permeates through our culture or our system. And I think that's true through all Indian tribes. I don't know about you white people, but that's what makes me survive. That's what makes the Indian warrior survive. I've attended a lot of meetings up north in Navajo country. I've been to Anadarko. I've been to Las Vegas where we had a big tribal gatherings, and they kind of speak like me. We try not to cry, because men don't cry like that, supposedly. But the hurt I don't think will ever leave us, whether you're at home waiting or whether you went. But those nights when the sun comes up, most of us believe it or not, pray. We don't pray for grandeur. We don't pray for fame. I prayed just to see the next day. And it was like that constant every day. You get tired of eating beans and franks. You get tired of drinking water that's chlorinated like a swimming pool. But that's what happens every day. We get lost, believe it or not. Our illustrious leaders, lieutenants, fresh out of OCS, we had a lieutenant that always get us lost. I had a captain that always got us lost. And I met him about 40 years later, and the guy's a 2-star general. I don't know how we got it. We took a hill one day, and we took the wrong hill. If you can imagine that, there's 125 people fighting up a hill, and when we got there, it was the wrong hill. So those errors cost. And today, a lot of people who went up those hills pay for that. And we're still here, at least for now. I appreciate you being here. It puts some closure for me. That's why these things are out here. They're mine. Really, I don't know why I keep them, because I have some problems. But I appreciate when people wave, and that's kind of the way we are in the country anyway. Out here, you don't see anybody wave in the city. But out here, your car is alongside the road, and they say, "Can I help you?" And that's a good thing. I used to teach locally in town, and I thought to myself, once I get out of school, I'm going to walk down the road a mile or two, get my constitutional in. But I had to quit it because people would stop by and say, "Can I give you a ride?" I must look pretty bad walking. "Can I give you a ride?" I said, "No, I'm walking for exercise." So I do it still today, except I do it about midnight. The only company I have is occasionally immigration come by and hit me with light, make sure I belong here. So that's okay. I feel good. I feel better every day, and I feel comfortable now. But it's been 50 years, and I don't know those that are sitting here how long it's been since you served. After a while, maybe you just get used to it. I don't know. But when you have gatherings or meetings, it just gives you something. And I hope today when we have our meals, our food out there, you can chat, talk to each other. And that's what this is all about. We're not to give you some information of a legislative procedure, or we're not going to give you an aha minute. It's just getting out, sitting together, looking at each other, and say, you too? Yes, me too. I hope that in this area anyway, that when we have meetings in Yuma or wherever they may be locally, you would attend. Just share your thoughts, perhaps. Just sit next to somebody. You don't know how that might help that person. I think the Vietnam era veterans are really closed. They don't want to share. They're scared to share. I was that way for a long time. And it took a service officer to say, what's your problem? I said, I have no problem. I'm okay. I have a job, I have a family. Then they send me to, I think I'm getting the cold now. They send me to a psychologist, and he told me my life story without even knowing me. And I thought, maybe I do have a problem. again, I appreciate those who put this thing together. There's a lot of work out here. And those are in attendance, especially the tribal officials that we have, enough concern to do this. And before we terminate, we're going to blow taps. And to me, taps is the saddest thing I've ever heard. I used to kind of like it when they had services out here. I thought it's pretty neat until I understood what it was for. The young man back there is going to play our taps is my grandson. As the chairwoman said, our family suffered greatly. I had two brothers in the 9th Division down in Bearcat. The first one was wounded, shot through the shoulder, sent to Korea, DNZ. My brother came to see me. I was in the 3rd Field Hospital with a hole in my leg. And he said, you know, we need to send our little brother out of here. I said, yes, we do. This was prior to September. About 3 weeks later, he was killed in an ambush. And if you go to YPG, we have a section, there's a section of Small Arms Test Center. It's named after him. And we honor that. That's a big thing for us, tribal people, to be honored in that way. I am sole survivor. My nephew, the chairwoman's brother, served in 3/4 cab out in Cochee where I was. The last 3, I guess, veterans that I put in the ground out here were Vietnam veterans. They didn't live their full life. So we have paid our share to make this nation great. Again, it's not money or people who make a nation great. It's simple people as yourselves. Your daily work, your daily responsibilities. That's what makes this country great. As far as I'm concerned, you guys are great because you came. So we'll have taps and our closing. Our prayer to close this gathering will be done by my cousin Paul. He had a great loss yesterday, but he's made the effort to come here to be with us today. So with that in mind, you can remain seated. Put some thoughts in your head. If you care to stand, that's fine too. Let's honor those who have fallen. Let's honor those who have stayed home, again, waiting for that door to open. We'll now have taps. Thank you. Be seated, please.